And there was this moment where one of my professors said to me, "You haven't integrated your anger." And I had no idea what he meant by that. And this was a program where we really turned ourselves inside out in the course of the some years. And he said that to me, and I essentially first got really angry. I could feel it in my body. Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean I haven't integrated my anger? And then I sort of started to get curious and go on this journey of self-discovery related to, well, what does that mean? Where is anger in my body? What am I angry about? And what I discovered was my anger was coming out passive aggressively. My anger was coming out explosively, usually directed only really towards the people that I love the most. And my anger was, I had a lot of anger about stuff that had happened earlier in my life that was coming out as reactivity, meaning I wasn't going towards the things that I wanted in my life.
Welcome to Unmute with Priya, the podcast where silence ends, voices rise, and women rediscover the freedom to speak and live authentically, especially in life after 40. This show is proudly sponsored by Project Icon. I'm your host, Priya Sudarsanam. Let's dive into today's conversation. On today's episode of Unmute with Priya, I've got Krissie McMenamin, the founder of RageHer, which is a movement for women to connect and express their rage on purpose towards their purpose. Krissie, welcome.
Hello, thank you.
To have you here.
Very
I hope I did that intro correctly.
You did great.
Okay,
you did great.
Yeah. I'm like so jazzed because we met on another community, and every time you spoke, I was like, I want to speak to her. I want to speak to her. And then it's like, this is perfect. I started my podcast, and I'm like, you are the perfect guest.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's start with the RageHer movement. I want to know how you got started with it.
You know, it goes back to grad school. I did a master's in transformational leadership and coaching. And there was this moment where one of my professors said to me, "You haven't integrated your anger." And I had no idea what he meant by that. And this was a program where we really turned ourselves inside out in the course of the some years. And he said that to me, and I essentially first got really angry. I could feel it in my body. Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean I haven't integrated my anger? And then I sort of started to get curious and go on this journey of self-discovery related to, well, what does that mean? Where is anger in my body? What am I angry about? And what I discovered was my anger was coming out passive aggressively. My anger was coming out explosively, usually directed only really towards the people that I love the most. And my anger was, I had a lot of anger about stuff that had happened earlier in my life that was coming out as reactivity, meaning I wasn't going towards the things that I wanted in my life. I was reacting against things that had happened early on in life, especially in childhood, relating to like how I was raised and parents and how I thought I should be in the world. And once I sort of discovered that, and I started to like deeply connect into my body and actually let the anger move through me about stuff from, you know, childhood and rage towards my parents and, you know, the ways that I had experienced control and other things growing up, all of a sudden the thing that I had like wanted most in my life, which was purpose and meaning, started to get really clear. And so that's where this idea of like rage on purpose comes from, because it's like when we actually get connected to our anger, our purpose starts to get more clear. But it's real fuzzy and muddled without the connection to the anger.
Wow. You know, as you're speaking, I had goosebumps because I could totally relate to what you were saying. And so many other women, especially I'm talking to women at midlife, so many of the women that I've spoken to have not been able or didn't have the permission to be angry.
No.
And I was never allowed to be angry. If I was angry, you're angry. That was the first comment I was getting. I was like, and so what?
Yeah.
You're allowed to curse on this episode, actually.
Yeah, oh, good.
I don't know if it's censored, but I don't care because it defeats the whole purpose. Yeah, that's what I think you're bringing up. Something like so many women stifle their anger.
Yeah, it's actually wild. I don't know your cultural background, but I've spoken with women from a bunch of different cultures just recently. A woman from Kenya, a woman who grew up with two Mexican parents. I grew up, my mother's from Finland. My father grew up kind of all over and then moved to the States as a teenager. I don't know, Indian?
I'm Indian, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's wild how the words that come out of women's mouths from so many different cultures sound almost exactly the same. I wasn't allowed to be angry. When I was angry, it was shut down. One person in my family, whether it was my mom or my dad, in my case, it was my mom. For other people, oftentimes it's the dad. They were allowed to be angry, but any sort of counter to their anger was immediately squashed.
Oh my gosh.
That same story. And it's like cross many different cultures. So
it's so validating to hear this.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'm like hearing this kind of validation, because when you're in it, you think your world is so small. You don't think that, because you're just so in it and you're so angry about it, right? Yeah. Even my cousin that I grew up with, and of course she's Indian too, when she's married, and anytime she's expressed anger, that's been the comeback from her husband is like, why are you so angry? Why are you so angry? And it's like,
calm down, relax.
Oh, God.
Yeah, do those words that you like immediately, do you just want to be like,
you're just like,
don't fuck
that just made my blood boil when you just said that.
Right?
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing that happens then is, one, societally, it actually is not okay for us to be angry. And we get punished for our anger. So there's this really frustrating feedback loop. We're taught not to be angry. If it is expressed, somebody has a reaction to it. And we learn very quickly to squash it even further. And this could be happening at work and whatnot. There's studies that show that women who express more anger in the workplace, meaning assertiveness, not even aggression, assertiveness in the workplace, are penalized for that, right? Yeah. So we're actually in this fundamental loop of like, when we express it, it's bad. And so then we don't express it even more. And we express it and then it comes out again. Oh, bad. And so we've actually squashed it further and further and further down. And the problem is that, okay, cool, now we're in the system. So there's actually no way of breaking out of the system except doing something that's really uncomfortable for everybody, ourselves included.
Yeah.
Like it's not actually going to serve us in the short term to express our anger. But in the long term, we absolutely have to, because it is harming our bodies. It's harming our relationships. Like as women, we have chronic fatigue at 4x the rates of men, autoimmune disease 3x the rates of men. We have more chronic pain than men, more Alzheimer's and other sort of brain dysfunctions over time, more than men. And the research is starting to tie those to unexpressed anger in the body. And so like literally it is having a long-term effect on our health. So we're at this moment, a pretty critical moment right now, where like, we got to make a choice. Like we might have some short-term negative situations come out of expressing our anger, but the long-term, we got to do it. I always say like, there was a time when it was not okay for women to wear pants, right? 100 whatever years ago. Yeah. We have to make expressing our anger and not even, I'm not saying like rage. I'm not saying raging out. I'm saying assertive anger, going towards what we want, saying no, setting a boundary. We need to learn how to do that as much as women have, like now pants is a thing that we do every day, all day.
Yeah.
Like that's where I want us to get to, because I think it's going to not only serve us as individuals, but it's going to serve our families, our communities. It's going to impact this world. When women can harness our anger, oh boy, that's a whole different world that we can create.
Absolutely. It was a YouTube short, and somebody commented on my short. It was about speaking up, and commented that I was going to have a following of cats just complaining with me. That felt validating. I'm like, okay, if I was going to get that kind of response, we're on the right track.
Yes.
Because it is not about
somebody off.
Yeah, pissing somebody off, and you felt the need to go and comment. Thank you for helping my algorithm.
Right.
So yeah, and you mentioned the loop.
Yeah.
What are some steps to get
out of
this loop? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean
consciousness. One, we have to be looking at the system and how our behaviors continue to reinforce the system, right? And so the idea is, well, and with RageHer, so many women don't even really have access to the feeling of anger in their bodies. So they're so used to squashing it so immediately, they don't actually feel it rise up because they've just been like, nope, nope.
Yep.
Deep breaths. I'm going to breathe my way through it. And so one thing is literally noticing when the anger is rising in the body. And instead of doing something in that moment, just allowing ourselves to feel it.
Yeah.
Just allowing the sensation of anger to be with us and to be in the discomfort of it. And it feels not good necessarily, right? It does not feel good when you start to actually allow it to come through. And then as we become more conscious of it, then we can start making choices, right? You can't change anything if you're not conscious to it. So, okay, I feel the anger rising in my body. Historically, what might I have done? Like I'll give an example. I was at a conference recently. I felt it. There was a panel of 4 cis het white dudes talking. 4 people had asked questions. They were all men. The audience was like maybe 65% men. I noticed this sensation coming up from my feet, through my pelvis, up into my chest and sitting in my throat. And I felt so scared. I was like, I got to say something. But I felt so scared. The anger was rising. What do I say? Is it going to come out right? Da, 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 da. A historic version of myself would have just, before it even got here, when it was in my chest, would have been like, just breathe through it. Don't even think about it. And then what would have happened is I would have ruminated for weeks. This is what I could have said. This is what I should have said. This is like, and that, no. So now I feel it in my throat, and then I'm like, okay, I feel really scared to say something right now. I don't know how people are going to perceive it. Fuck it. I'm going to do it anyway. And that's what I did. I shared something in the space. I put my hand up. You know, whatever came out was fine. It wasn't particularly like eloquent or perfect or whatever, but I said it. And the act of saying it made it so that I didn't think about it for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
It didn't steal your time.
And how often we let the things that we don't say, the rumination, we spend an inordinate amount of energy on the what we should have done versus being with the anger and the fear in the moment and doing the thing anyway, and then dealing with whatever comes out of it. In this particular case, I had people coming up to me afterwards being like, thank you for saying the thing that you said. Oh, and by the way, the question that I asked, each one of those men's answer was like more vomitish than the first. It was like a bad scene from a movie. And it actually opened up this whole conversation in the experiences industry afterwards. It was wild. People were posting about it on LinkedIn.
Wow.
But a version of myself 2 years ago wouldn't have stood up and said that. So
And
it's
was
like,
this related to the RageHer movement when you were on this panel speaking?
I wasn't on the panel. I was in the audience.
Oh, you were in the audience.
I was in the audience. Yeah.
Oh,
and I
good
asked
for
a question
you.
of this panel. Yes.
Yeah.
And no, it had nothing to do. I didn't even mention RageHer at the time. I just used in that moment my anger, my rage on purpose towards my purpose, which is to be more authentic and present in the moment and go for the things that I want. And I was like, what I want right now is for people to become aware that what is happening in this space, I'm not okay with. I'm not okay that there are 4 white men on a panel, no people of color, that all the questions are being asked by men, that they've created a space where it feels like, by the way, the whole topic was on storytelling. And I was like, we are currently co-creating a story of this experience. I don't like the story we're co-creating right now. So it's that I don't like this was the first thing. And then the second thing is, what do I want? Right? So oftentimes as women are very clear on what we don't want. And then, you know, and I've run RageHers now for almost 600 women. I also run I run a program called the Aliveness Collective, which is mostly women. We come into a space every other Saturday to just be with ourselves and connect over topics of self-discovery and like using our voice, all the things that you also do.
Yeah.
And the thing that comes up over and over again, well, I don't know what I do want. I'm so busy making everybody around me feel a certain way. I've completely lost my thread. I've completely lost what I need, what I want. And so this idea of we feel the anger, we get conscious to it, we notice it rising, we sit with it in our bodies, we decide what we're going to do with it in the moment. We decide if we're going to express it, or sometimes contain is the right move in that moment. That's okay.
Yeah.
And then we go, but what do I want to use it towards? And oftentimes that's where the big gap is. And so to start practicing the like, right now, what do I want? What do I yearn for right in this moment? Oh, I yearn for connection with you. I've been talking a lot. I actually would love to hear what Priya has to say right now, like, oh. So I think that's a big thing.
It's huge because you're making me reflect. Like there were times where I held my anger in for 6 months and it would come out in the ways that you described, passive aggressive or just absolute rage explosive because I had not addressed it when it happened, or it was stifled, or it was dismissed that I was making a big deal. So yeah, I love the idea. I love the concept of actually just giving permission to yourself to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And to know the statistics, I've never heard those before about how it affects a woman.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't even mention another thing, like, okay, yeah, passive aggression. We've got the explosiveness. We've got the women who are like, I'm not angry. No, I'm joyful all the time. But it can show up as control, right? How many women are like, my house has to be immaculate for someone to enter through the doors?
Yeah.
That's a sense of internalized rage. We're taking everything that society tells us we should be and we're internalizing it instead of being like, how do I want to live my life to the fullest of its extent and like do all the yummy stuff in my life? Guess what? I'm guessing the bed sheet tucked a little tighter isn't doing that for you. And yet we sort of believe that it is. There's also things like the number of women who are like, I have IBS, I have chronic migraines, I've got to tell my left shoulder blade gets really tight when I have unexpressed feelings. And I wrote an email about it to our list recently, and I had several people reply back like, oh my God, my left shoulder blade is where like feels like there's something there. So it is also really affecting our bodies day to day, moment by moment.
Yeah. You think, I mean, I think about all the different pains I've had. I think for years I had it on my left shoulder blade as well. Yeah. Now that you say that, I just used to remember having to go like this because it hurt so badly. But we hold on to a lot, and we're so busy from such an early age, from so early on. Proving ourselves, making other people feel comfortable.
Right.
And and I think the biggest thing is that, okay, let's say in the moment, in the example that you described, we decide to say something. Then the burden that we've often carried is, oh, look at how they reacted. And now we're carrying their reaction with us because even though what we expressed was actually valid and it came from the right place. So what do you say to that with what's happening with the other person?
Listen, I've got a very deep-seated, held belief that I am in constant separation from, which is that I've done something wrong. Right? And I think a lot of people can relate to that. My mom, she used to run huge multinational events for like presidents of countries, like Bill Gates, Steve Ballmer, like really like VIP kind of people. And everything had to be just so. The protocol had to be just so. And so like that really came into our home. Like you need to set the table just so. And I would do things my way and it would be like, that's not quite right. That's not quite right. That's not quite right. And so this like pattern of, it's not quite right. It's wrong is very, like I know it very well.
Yeah.
And the thing as women that we do too, is we take everybody else's feelings and sort of like, not everybody does it, but especially empathetic people who have a lot of empathy. Like we sort of like hold those feelings as I've caused them to feel a certain way. My work, and I think a lot of the work that we could be doing and a lot of people are doing is this like, you get to have your feelings. I get to have my feelings.
Right.
And that rubber band effect that often happens when we do something that's out of the comfort zone and people don't react the way we hope or want, we tend to like put it on ourselves to then be like, I've done something wrong, instead of being like, no, they can have whatever they're feeling and they are entitled. And I'm having my feelings, and you know what I'm doing? I'm doing a lot of self-soothing. I'm taking care of myself and my feelings instead of what the normal response for a lot of women is like, oh shit, I've made them feel a certain way. Let me go take care of them.
Exactly.
No, let me
Exactly.
take care of me. Because if I learn how to self-soothe, to self-validate, you know what? I did something hard right then. It didn't get me the result that I wanted, but the action of going for it, that's what I'm celebrating, not the result. I fucking went for it, and that feels good. I did it. Let me just breathe through the discomfort that I feel right now and take care of myself. You're okay. Breathing and I'm okay. You got this. You did something hard. Yeah. How often we do that for everyone but ourselves. That is a superpower skill that many women end up being super hard on themselves. Instead of being tender and sweet and being like, holy shit, you did something that was scary and hard and like you went for it. And that's the win. Let's celebrate that.
I want to get your expertise on, I mean, I can put myself in everything that you're talking about, but with the women that I speak to, it's something shifting at perimenopause. It's like, oh, this hormone change, things are happening. And so it's almost like it's happened all of a sudden where you're just like, I can't fucking take this shit anymore. And that rage, just like, that's how it came for me. And it literally started after a head injury because I had the physical effect. Like I didn't die from the head injury, even though I hit it on the side of a bathtub and I had heard stories in the news, this celebrity dying and that, but it was like that rage started overnight. It feels like, because it was so stifled. And it's like, I feel like the universe said, okay, we're not going to kill you, but we're going to wake you up because you need to start living your life. So have you noticed that something is happening around this age in your experience? I like the expression on your face.
Okay, I had this moment. This was like a week ago. What happened? My husband came in. He was helping me book a flight for something. He's so good, like at helping me with logistical things sometimes. And he comes in and he's like, "Hey, we missed the window for that really cheap flight. It ended yesterday." And I have never felt such a surge in a micro moment of like rage towards myself, like a self-hating rage of like, how have you not been able to get your shit together to get that cheaper flight? And it happened so quickly. It was like from my toes through to my head. And I mean, at this point, I've been doing enough emotional work that he's used to these types of things. I literally was like, I just let it out. I was like, and I screamed at the top of my lungs and I like banged on the desk and, it was just us at home. And I just let it go through. And very quickly I saw the like, oh my God, that has been deep in there. And something about this moment just touched it.
Yeah.
And it came out quick and very large. And I was very tender to myself afterwards, which is new. I was just like, oh my gosh, wow. That is so, like, don't be so mean to yourself. Where did that come from? It's okay. I ended up getting a hug from him. My point in sharing that story is like, I've never felt it come on that quickly or like full body. And I let it out, which I don't know that I would have done that historically. And I'm hearing this from a lot of women. I'm 42. I'm feeling the last few months like things are like fogginess. There's kind of like where does my brain? Is it over there somewhere? So I definitely am feeling it myself. And I've been hearing a lot of women at this age. It's coming on really strong. And I would say, I don't know all the hormonal stuff related to it, but I would say like, it's kind of our bodies at a certain point being like, with the hormonal shifts being like, that stuff is in there.
Yeah.
It's begging to be let out.
Yeah. It's like the pressure cooker.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women are like, I don't give a fuck right now. Just, I'm going to let it out.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. And just have to be comfortable with actually own the part that I don't give a fuck. And if you say that, just sit with that and not say something or manage your anger and then think, okay, I got to take care of this person
because I do give a fuck. It's like you have to really get comfortable with that. Yeah, yeah. That's when it started for me at 42. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like that age.
Yeah.
Let's
Well, and I
talk
think
about, yeah.
there's like a practice too of like, so there are the things that we don't have control over, right? Like you're on the phone with a representative and there's just like nothing you can do about some shitty thing happening at the bank. This happened like a few weeks ago for me.
Yeah.
And it's like, there are those moments of like, okay, what am I going to do with all of this agitation? And we just oftentimes are like, I'm going to breathe through it. But sometimes for me at least, and it's different for every person, but to actually feel that kind of like let it out, like do the movements, like let it go, get out, like wiggle it out, scream it out, whatever, can be so helpful so that it doesn't build.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes we're letting things really build. And those are the simple ones, right? The other parts are like, an argument with my husband, the resentment that's built for, a project I'm working on and I haven't said something to the person. The number of women who I ask, like, well, did you say something? Like, oh, my partner in my business has been doing XYZ for the last 5 years of business together. And I'm like, well, have you talked to them about it? And they're like, well, I've mentioned it. We're so conflict averse.
Yeah.
And I think those things just build up in our bodies, resentment. And what else is going to happen but explode at some point or implode?
Yeah. Yeah. It's having this conversation. It's like, no wonder.
No wonder.
No wonder.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the RageHer movement, because you did a couple of movements. You did.
Yeah, I know.
Like, how does it work? How can we be part of it? Like, tell me a little bit more about it.
Well, so RageHer started as a 2-hour movement and embodiment experience for women to express anger, grief, really whatever they want to bring into the space. It's held by very experienced, we call them rage doulas. These are therapists and coaches with a bunch of years of training under their belt who really know how to be with people in the broad range of feelings. So in these experiences, you'll have women like full on, like going to town with like a baseball bat and a bolster. You'll have women grieving. We've had women say, I grieved the loss of my partner from 10 years ago that I hadn't ever grieved before. We've had women come in saying, I've had 5 miscarriages and this is the first time I felt fully connected in my body because I've allowed the tears to fully flow. We've had women who've come in with a lot of different traumas and just said, like, it feels so good to be witnessed and witness. So really the full spectrum of emotions is welcome at RageHer. And now we're at this really interesting moment where we're like, okay, we've created an experience. It's working. Women are getting a lot out of it. We need to be developing, like we want to be expanding. We think that this education is like more women need to know what is happening with anger and how to use it. And we don't have the skills. We haven't been taught the skills. So we've also developed a training called Rage on Purpose. It's actually just launching on March 29th, the pilot. Yeah, and that's a virtual training that's more about like we'll do a lot of the somatic pieces, but it's really about how do we use this to get freaking satisfied in our lives moment by moment. So it's like a learning lab. It's like we're going to be role playing. We're going to be actually practicing doing things differently. We're going to be practicing boundary setting, practicing going towards what we want. Because this is like what we need more of in our lives. And we want women to lead more satisfied lives.
Yeah, I feel like with the women that I've spoken to, it's a lot of that rage is not being able to say out loud what you wanted to say. And it was stifled. And you just kind of have to suck it up and eat it and say, all right, well, I manage this. Because there's stuff from like 5 years ago that I wasn't able to say. And I really wish I still could, like, as I'm talking, I'm like, it's there still. It's there. But so it's a 2-hour, you've got so many things happen. It's awesome. You have this launching on the 29th.
Yeah.
And then as far as the experiences, where can somebody go to experience it?
Yeah, so right now we have experiences in San Diego, which is where I am, and then Chicago, which is where a lot of our Rage Doula team is. But we're at this moment where we are starting to train up Rage Doulas in other parts of the U.S. So we are hoping to have an event in New York this fall. We're hoping to get therapists, coaches, other types of healing practitioners trained up to be able to do smaller RageHers all over. So like if you want a RageHer where you are, like reach out and let me know, because that's what we're going towards. The other thing is we really want to be serving different niche populations of women. So think about women going on a fertility journey and how many feelings that, they have with that, or cancer, or becoming a new mom, or going through a divorce. There's also, LGBTQIA women who want some extra support. We've had an Indian woman be like, I want to bring this to my brown ladies. We've had a Jewish woman be like, oh gosh, I want to bring this to my Jewish community. So we're really trying to menopausal women. We need those spaces. So we're trying to find practitioners who are super excited to bring this work into whoever they already serve as part of what they're providing, as they're offering. Because we think that this is such a key, and people don't really know it as a key to unlock so much more in our lives. We just don't know. We're not taught, even therapists. We've had a ton of therapists come to RageHer, and they're not really taught this.
Yeah.
Of the energy behind rage, the anger, the sort of life force that it is.
Right. I've had 2 therapists who, when I've been angry at them because they've said, you seem angry. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Yes, I'm angry because you're not helping me right now. So yeah, I think training as many people from all different backgrounds, because this is unique. This is why I wanted you on, because it's such an amazing movement, and we have to give more voices to women. That's what it's about. Yeah.
That's right.
Count me in. I'm gonna reach out to you.
Yes.
I want to be a RageHer doula. I mean, that just sounds amazing.
Come join. I actually was just at a conference this weekend, and I literally ironed on a decal that said Rage Doula onto a white t-shirt. And it was really fun because I've had other t-shirts that are courageous, the Rage Doula. I kept getting, wait, what's a Rage Doula? And then it was so fun to be able to have a conversation. So people are interested, and I think that they see a need, women especially see a need. And there's fear. Yeah. There's fear that also comes into play here quite a bit. Yeah.
Amazing. And so we'll make sure to put all your links in the show notes. Do you have a website, or how can people connect with you to learn more about this?
You can go to RageHer.com. You can read a little bit about the movement, our Rage Doulas. We also have a Release Your Fucking Shit starter kit, which are some somatic practices that you can use to kind of just help you get into your body. Especially when you might feel stuck, or you're staring at the computer screen and you're I don't know, my momentum is really low, or you're having big feelings. And so that's a fun one to download.
I love that. And go to the website and you can get your Release Your Fucking Shit starter kit from there.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. We'll make sure to put all those links in the show notes. Krissie, this is awesome. Awesome. This is every guest that I have on here is just so amazing, but this is just definitely all about unmuting, and it's the perfect example of it, of how we can do that.
Yeah, it is. I just love that, the unmute too. That's such a powerful phrase. Fucking just take ourselves off of mute.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna press the unmute button.
Press the unmute button. So
yeah, I mean, that will be me doing a RageHer movement, one of your events. I'll just be unmute. Thank you, Krissie.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And this show was brought to you by Project Icon.